The super school bus system. Super school bus system. Focus question. What are the benefits of a school bus system? The trusty bus. Sarah walks outside on a freezing winter day. She shivers on her way to the school bus stop a block from her apartment. As cold as it is, though, she's not worried about standing outside. She knows she won't have to wait for long. The bus pulls up right on time and she greets the driver as she boards. She barely notices, though, as the bus pulls out of the stop and rumbles down the road, taking her to school. It's a part of her day she simply takes for granted. Taxis to transportation. The yellow school bus is part of the landscape for Sarah and many American students who depend on the bus service to get to school. Few people ever stop to think about how that bus system works. Yet the school bus system is one of the most important and complex mass transit systems in the country. Busing students to school requires the effort of a small army of people. School buses travel on all kinds of roadways, from interstate highways to paved rural lands. The vehicles, drivers, mechanics, and fuel that make the school bus system work are controlled by individual school districts. School buses are paid for with taxpayer money that often comes from local property taxes. Businesses and homeowners are taxed on the value of their property. They pay that tax to local governments, which use it to pay for services such as police departments, fire departments, and schools. In addition, states sometimes give schools transportation funds that are used for busing. Busing. Buses support the American public school system, which is based on the principle that everybody is entitled to an education. Mass transit on a massive scale. Planning the system of buses that move students to from school is an enormous job. The fleet of public school buses in the United States employs more vehicles and moves more people than any other form of mass transit in the country. In 2013, about 480,000 buses carried students to school each day. Silently, more than half of public school students, about 26 million of them, use school buses daily. In fact, an American school bus fleet has more than twice as many vehicles as all the other mass transit systems in the country combined. The American school bus system is also enormous for several reasons. The country's large size, its large population, and its lack of other public transit options for students in many places make school buses necessary. This is especially true in rural areas which often have no public transit options at all outside the school bus system. Rural American school buses tend to have many complex and wide-ranging routes. The rural school bus system in Kingman, Arizona, for example, covers an area larger than the entire state of Delaware. In order to make these wide-ranging bus routes work efficiently, school transportation planners must examine a number of factors. They must try to ensure that students don't spend too much time traveling back and forth every day. They must establish bus stops that aren't too far away from students' homes so students can walk to their stop. Many districts offer bus service to any students who lives more than 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers from school. Students who might be placed in dangerous situations by walking to school, such as crossing a highway, are often offered bus service too. Math Minute. At 1,854 square miles, 5,060 square kilometers. Delaware is the second smallest of the 50 states. In Arizona, the Kingman Unified School District, KUCD, is more than 3,000 square miles, 7,779 square miles. If KUCD is 3,000 square miles, how much larger is it than the state of Delaware? History. American public schools began organizing mass transportation for their students long before the modern school bus existed. In the 1800s, many students attended one-room schoolhouses in sparsely populated rural school districts. In these situations, some students walked. Others might use horse-drawn wagons or sleds to get to school. Over time, school districts discovered that it was efficient to use a system of horse-drawn wagons. The wagons would pick up students and take them to school. As population expanded and the technology advanced, horse-drawn wagons gave way to modern vehicles. The basic idea of public transportation for students, however, remained the same. Using large passenger vehicles, school districts set up routes and lined up vehicles. The vehicles picked up students before school and delivered them near home at the end of the day. Yes to yellow. The big yellow school bus, familiar to today's American school students, developed over time. The first vehicles that carried students that didn't look like modern buses. School bus from the 1820s, for example, resembled a long car. Buses gradually grew larger to hold more and more students. The yellow color of modern school buses was chosen because it was highly visible. Educators and parents wanted the school buses to stand out in time to allow students to board safely. Today, American school buses are required by law to be painted a color called National School Bus Glossary, a glossy yellow. This helps drivers recognize school buses in an instant. Then came a new goal: school integration. This was the process of bringing African American and white children together in schools. Prior to 1954, many American schools were segregated, meaning that black students and white students were sent to separate schools. These segregated schools were not equal. White students usually received better education opportunities and more resources than black students did. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court declared that school segregation discriminated against African American students. The process of integration began. For a time, school buses were an important part of that process. In the 1970s and 1980s, schools worked together to bus black students to white schools and vice versa. By the 1990s, however, most school districts had stopped using busing to desegregate schools. In recent years, closing schools has presented new challenge. Consolidation is a process in which several smaller schools combine in one larger building. Consolidating schools can cut education costs since many students can share resources in a large school. However, consolidation also requires some students to travel much farther to school. This makes the bus system extremely important in these districts, and it makes bus routes larger and more complex. One school bus route in rural Texas took some students roughly 100 miles, 160 kilometers each way in the mid-1990s. These students spent more time on the bus than they did in school. Safety. The American public school bus system is the safest transportation option for students, according to the National Safety Council. School buses are 40 times safer than private cars. School districts require bus drivers to undergo strict safety training. In addition, school buses have a number of built-in safety features, such as emergency exits, reinforced roof structures, the seat layout that helps keep students safe in the event of a crash. Seats are spaced closely together, and seat backs are made to absorb an impact. This structure places passengers in a type of protective box. Interestingly, in most states, safety belts are not required on school buses, though a few states have passed bus safety belt laws. Other bus safety features may include flashing stop signs to alert drivers and students are getting off or on the bus, and cameras that help drivers see what's happening inside the bus and outside. We can expect to see more safety upgrades in the future. Yellow buses, go green. Some school districts are also beginning to make changes to buses that help the environment. For instance, one school bus in New York has an electric engine that doesn't pollute the air. The bus can travel for about 120 miles, 190 kilometers, before it needed to be recharged. Another green trend in school bus technology is the use of propane fuel. Propane is much less expensive than traditional bus fuel and less polluting too. Do you know? Though seat belts make passengers in private cars much safer, there is some debate about whether this holds true for school buses. For one thing, buses are designed with much tighter safety standards. For another, buses often hold more than 50 students at a time. It's hard then for the school bus driver to make sure all those students are even wearing their safety belts. School buses can also reduce pollution by replacing private vehicles on the road. The average school bus can drive 54 students. That eliminates about 36 private vehicles that would otherwise to be used to drive students to school. These facts, along with newer, greener technology, can help keep the air cleaner. Conclusion. As the school bus slows to stop, Sarah opens her eyes, startled to find that she's dozed off. She gathers her things and follows the other students of the bus. The bus pulls away from the curb, its job done for now. At the end of the day, it'll be waiting for them, ready to start the whole journey again in reverse.